Because there is a fine line between manipulation and actually truly giving without attachment to the results. I believe the first thing you need to do is find out what's important to that other person, right? Well, actually, let me back up again. The first thing you need to do is you need to have a goal. And that is done with self-control. You want to master your thinking. You want to be able to control your thoughts. And that requires discipline and it requires action.
Hello and welcome to the Real Success Show. I'm your host, Candice Mama. If you are returning, welcome back, family. And if this is your first time, welcome to the Real Success family. It is an honor to have you here. Now, if you love me as much as I love you, as Robin has said, you've got to show me love, okay? So please make sure you are smashing that like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find us. Now, have you ever sat back and thought to yourself, I have got this massive goal that can change the world. If only I could meet Oprah or Elton John or Lady Gaga. Wow, you are in luck because today's guest is none other than John Tallarico, potentially the most connected man on the planet. If you want to meet someone, John is the guy that you want to connect to. And if you cannot get to John, you have not learned his strategies, okay? Because he's going to teach us how we can connect to anyone, anywhere in the world. Without further ado, here's the one and only John Tallarico. Thank you so much for joining us on the Real Success Show. And I want to just tell the audience you woke up at 6 a.m. to be here. So thank you.
Very welcome, Candice. Happy to do it.
Oh, it's such a pleasure having you here, John. I mean, you are arguably one of the most connected and influential people that, I've ever come across. And it's incredible. You've got such a magic skill. And I want to actually start, before we even get into that, John, I want to know from you, have you always been this way? Have you always known, like on the playground, trading lollipops and being like...
on the playground, collecting business cards in kindergarten? Absolutely not, Candice. Quite the opposite, which I grew up very shy. Like I was so shy. I don't think I asked a girl out till I was about 17. Just wasn't, I guess, introvert, as you call it, right? Growing up. And it wasn't until later on in life that I realized that I had this unique ability, right, to be able to build relationships, to connect with people, no matter where they were in the world, no matter who they were, whether they were cleaning the warehouse floor or they own the company, right? And so I realized that I was able to use this gift to help other people build relationships as well. So yeah, it did not start out that way, Candice.
It's so good to hear, though, because I think so many people think when you have this ability that it has to be either inbred or, it's something that you just have naturally, that you like, that you can't really train. And so you said, John, like you discovered it a bit later and you were an introvert, right? So what did you do prior to this before you realized that, hey, I'm a great connector and I can do something with this? What were you doing? What was your trajectory in life looking like?
My trajectory was kind of up and down, Candice. So I grew up in a kind of an auto town in Michigan. For those who don't know, in Flint, Michigan, it was really a big General Motors factory town. My dad hung doors all those years, and then it was decimated in I won't give the decade, Candice, but it was a while ago, and it changed. And so I realized that I wanted to get out of that town, and the only way to do that for me was to pour myself into education in school. And so thank goodness I had my grandmother. She was my guardian angel. She always would give me books, Think and Grow Rich, Og Mandino, Dale Carnegie, all these books. And it gave me hope that I could get out of my circumstances. And so what I did was I went to college, and then there was that pivotal moment, Candice, where I actually wanted to be a teacher. And then I started to allow the outside influence to change my decision. Teachers don't make any money. Why would you want to do that? You're so good in math. And so I made that first diversion against my goals and dreams, as a lot of us do, right? And so I allowed the outside circumstances to dictate. I went out and got an MBA and proceeded to get fired from every job I ever had. I started my own printing company, bored out of my mind, Candice. But what I realized is that I loved the idea to be able to make money, but I love more the ability to travel the world and meet new people. And so it took me a while to finally understand that I could have whatever I want. And so whenever I hear people say, well, I don't like to meet people, or I'm shy, or I have to, the dreaded networking word, I just remind them of the true definition of that. It's really just to connect with people, to exchange ideas and information to further one's career. And that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to help each other out. We're here to build each other up, to push each other to be our absolute best, and know that we don't have to compete with one another, but we can create together.
Wow, that's incredible. And I love that you wanted to be a teacher, because essentially that's what you've become, a teacher, right?
Yes.
You may not be teaching high school or college, but you're teaching adults on how to network and connect. And, you spoke about networking. And I think a lot of people assume that the best networkers are the most extroverted ones, right? Like the guy who can just talk and talk and talk. And, and you've said you've been an introvert. So for someone who has more of an introverted personality style, and they're listening to you speak and they're saying, okay, John, but how did you figure this thing out? How did you figure out this niche of yours? How did you figure out that, hey, I can actually really meet people and connect on a very deep level?
I think it requires us to kind of spend some time alone with ourselves, Candace. So many of us we're numbed out, and we're bombarded by all the noise and negativity and nonsense from outside. We don't take any time to sit down and think, what is it that I truly, really want, without worrying about anything else, right? Without worrying about what we've been told, without worrying, I call it the committee, that speaks to us and gives us all this nonsense. What do I really want? And okay, so my goal is to change people's lives, to give them hope that they, no matter what they've been through, they're not through yet, right? That they have a lot to do, and that they have a special, unique gift. And so when I hear people talk about, well, I'm not an extrovert, right? You weren't born that way. And so I had to realize that I had built these habits, these paradigms over the course of decades that were dictating my results in my life. And then I had to go back and understand them, one, and then I had to connect to new habits, to new ways of thinking. So when I talk about connecting and building relationships, I tell people, relax for a minute. Don't worry about networking yet. Let's connect you to the right kind of thinking. And then let's make sure that you understand that you have that one unique gift that you do better than anyone else on the planet. And then now let's help you extract it, bring it out, so that you can change your life, change the life of your family and friends, your community, and then ultimately the world. And so it requires you to be quiet. It requires you to think. It requires you to actually go inward and say, okay, this is what I truly, really want, without worrying about how it's going to happen. And I think it all starts from there, Candace.
Wow. That is so profound, and that is so powerful. And I know in Think and Grow Rich, those principles are also very much emphasized. So with your journey in particular, John, what are some of the things that you did in order to get quiet, to get still, and to refine that vision that you had for your life?
Yeah, well, the first thing I did, Candace, and we all hit that low point, right? There's that turning point in our lives where we will, as Andrew Carnegie says, meet our other self, right? And we have to draw on that courage to know that we're here for a reason, right? Everyone can disagree about the before and after, but while we're here to do something. And while we're here, we might as well do something great, have a great time doing it. And so I had to take an inventory of my life, and I realized that I had a lot more than what I thought I had. I had a lot of great relationships. I had a lot of great experience. I had a great passion to teach. And so that was the first step, is to realize that I had a lot of wonderful things already. And then the second thing was, I had to be honest with myself about what is it that I truly love to do, without worrying about money, without worrying about what anyone else thought. I had to be myself, right? And myself loves to teach. I love to teach people. I love to help people. And so that's what I always encourage people, is go inside and decide, what is it that you truly love to do? If you didn't have to worry about how it's going to happen, right, or anything else, what do you really want to do? And only two questions you have to ask yourself: are you able to do it? Of course. Either someone's already done it, or they're probably doing it right now. Are you willing to do what it takes? And that's where most people fall short, Candace, is they're not willing to do what it takes. They're willing to listen to stories, to excuses. And that happened to me for many decades, that I would listen to outside things, I would listen to inside things, and then I wouldn't take action. Or we get that, you see it with the amazing seminars you guys put on the summits. We get that summit high that on Sunday night. Monday, we tell everyone we're going to tear up the world, right? We're on fire. We're up early, implementing all the stuff from all the great speakers you guys had. And then by Thursday or Friday, we're right back to the same old thing. And so you have to go inward and say, okay, this is what I love to do. And then recognize, have the awareness to know that you have developed certain habits over the years, that have caused you to get the results you have up until now. And the great news is that with some slight adjustments, you can actually change your results. And that starts with connecting to what you truly want.
That is beautiful. By connecting to what you truly wanted, John, is that what led you to the West Indies? Because I know you stayed there.
Well, that was part of connecting to what I wanted, Candace, is I love to travel. So I'm traveling. I would make money and then I would use it to go travel, make more money and go travel. And so I realized at one point, I better figure out a way to make money while I'm traveling, because otherwise I'm going to go broke. So I did spend some time in the West Indies. I'm probably one of the few Americans you'll find that actually love the sport of cricket. But I enjoyed my time there. I was actually able to actually become part owner of a cricket franchise in the Caribbean. And so, yeah, that happened a little bit later after that, Candace.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love that story, John. And, you know, I love the connectivity, right? You talk about your love for travel, you talk about your love of teaching and figuring it out as to how do I get to do these things concurrently and not is in separation of each, you know, one. And I know for a lot of people, when they're in that, you know, that hero, like I love The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, where he speaks about, you know, when the hero just is now devastated, that rock bottom moment. For a lot of people who are listening to this, you know, we're living through this time and it is unprecedented for all of us. And they just like, I don't even know if I can go on another day, let alone live my purpose. What kind of message would you give people that are in that kind of mindset at this time?
Sure, Candace. And people need hope right now, Candace. They need hope to know that no matter what's going on outside, maybe what they feel like is going on inside, that there is a way out. That I have a lot of friends, myself included, that during these last 18 months or so have been the best times of their life for their business, because they've been able to impact so many people, because people are searching for some answers. And you're not going to find them on TV, Candace. You're not going to find them in the newspaper and all this other stuff, social media or doing the scrolling. You're going to find them inside, to know that you're God's highest form of creation, that everything you need is already here. Candace, you're in South Africa right now. I'm here in Phoenix having this conversation. This technology has always been here. So when you start to develop an awareness to know that, wow, everything's already here. And then I can decide what I truly, really want. But then what happens, Candace, is we have to take daily action and we have to track our results. So just some small adjustments to say, okay, this is what I want. And you need to borrow somebody's belief. I always talk to my clients, prospective clients, about, look, I know you can do it. So just borrow my belief for a little while, because somebody believed in me when I didn't believe myself either, Candace. So I always like to share that message. And for those who don't know my story, look, if I can do this, I know any of you can. I know any of you can do this. So one, borrow someone else's belief in you until you can catch up. And then you start to change your behavior until you can integrate that new belief with that new behavior. Get a mentor, get a coach. That's why I'm such a big fan of coaching and mentors. You look at most successful people in all kinds of industries, sports, business, they all have coaches and mentors. I have a coach and mentor. And so it's so important to know that you're not in this alone, that I know, you know, I'm sure, Candace, what it's like to be at that rock bottom place, to feel like your world is caving in, not wondering or not knowing where maybe the next month's paycheck is going to come from. But if you can go and draw upon that courage that exists inside each and every one of you, know that you are this marvelous, beautiful, powerful person, that you can start to change your life by starting to change and connecting to a different kind of thinking, and then connect to a different kind of action. First thing is to borrow someone else's belief in you until you can catch up.
Oh, that is so powerful. And you were saying, you know, each person is God's greatest creation. And that just gave me chills, because it's so true, so true. And I know in your journey, someone who was a mentor and someone that you connected with really well was Bob Proctor. Yes. And so do you want to tell us, firstly, what led you there? What led you to being so fascinated with Bob Proctor and wanting him to be someone you worked with?
Yeah, I saw the movie The Secret, Candace. That movie came out, and I started to understand that maybe I could actually manifest things in my life just by changing my thinking. Now, I was really stuck in my old ways, my old patterns. And so yet it gave me a little bit of hope. And I started to read different books, right? I started to read people like Dr. John Demartini, Lisa Nichols, Joe Vitale, he was in that movie. And then, of course, Bob Proctor. And I started to watch and listen to some of his videos and he talked about understanding paradigms, understanding habits that we develop that cause us to get the results, and that I could actually change my results in my life if I just change my thinking. And so I started to go to some of his seminars. I went to one called The Paradigm Shift. And I sat there in the back row for 2.5 days, and I made a decision that somehow I'm going to be in the inner circle of this man's life, that I'm going to have him mentor me, and I'm going to somehow have some kind of business relationship with him. And again, I didn't worry about the how, but I just made a committed decision that I'm going to make it happen no matter what. So a lot of us get bogged down in, well, I don't see how it's going to happen, Candace. But when you let go of that and not worry about seeing, being, believing, but rather the believing being the seeing part, magical, wonderful things start to happen in your life. And so I sat there for 2.5 days and I listened to this man speak and to teach. And there was one thing, Candace, I realized, is that I didn't have the money to hire him one-on-one. I didn't have any money. He had everything he needed, right? He was at the top of his industry. He's been the foremost expert on human success and potential over the last 60 years. So I said to myself, how can I develop a relationship? And let me use the greatest gift we've ever been gifted, Candace, our imagination. So this man played one song, Candace, for 2.5 days. Every break, every return from the break, end of the day, beginning of the one song, the whole weekend. And I thought for a moment, this must mean something special to him. And I looked the guy up who sang that song, and turned out he was alive still. And he was a recluse, never really performed in public for over 30 years, no social media, no website, nothing. But I was persistent, and I kept digging on Google and digging until I found some kind of phone number. I hunted Johnny Nash down and got him to autograph an album to Bob. Now, Bob didn't know me. I framed it, dropped it off at his next event. I put a plaque in there and said, Bob, thank you for helping me see clearly now. The song was, It's Going to Be a Bright, Bright, Sunshiny Day. And I said, thank you for helping me see clearly, Bob, John Tellerico. And I left it at his next seminar. And from that point, Candace, his son called me back within an hour. And from that point, that thing now sits in his office in Toronto. I am in his inner circle. I have been coached and mentored by him, and I am one of his top consultants around the world. And it's just an absolute joy to be able to know that anyone can do this. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And it all starts with just making a decision.
I love, love, love that story. I mean, I've heard you tell it on our summit, and I've heard it, in other interviews as I was researching you, and I'm hearing you tell it again. And I'm like, I love the story. It's so good. And, that was a defining moment in your life, John. That was a moment, would you say that was a turning point in your whole life?
That was a turning point when I said, I am sick and tired of not having the results I want in my life, that I am not where I want to be. But then I had to get honest with myself, Candace. And I had to realize that I was unable to look myself in the mirror. I didn't like who I was. While I was projecting to the outside that everything was great in my world, on the inside, it was falling apart. I was unhappy. I was broke. I was angry all the time, blaming other people. And so I heard a message of hope that weekend. And I said, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to change my results. Now, it didn't happen overnight, Candace. There was a lot of up and downs again, up until even a couple of years ago, where I said, all right, I'm all in now. This is what I really, truly love to do. I'm going to teach. And what better platform than to be able to teach people information that if they apply it, and they can apply it quickly, they can change the results drastically and make quantum leaps in their life. But it all starts with being honest with ourselves, Candace, being able to say, okay, here's where I am. Here's who I am, or who I think I am. And yet here's where I want to go and want to be. And so we start to make changes. And those changes can only happen when we understand that we've created a self-image that's a false self-image. And we can start to change that. We can create the image of the person we wish to become. Someone who is unstoppable, who's confident and powerful. And we all have that in us, Candace. It's just like you said earlier, a lot of people have lost hope. And so my message is that hope is here, right? That there is another way. And so if I can just touch and impact people so that they can actually start to change a little bit, and then start to make some small adjustments, they can really transform and change their life.
And one thing that you have been teaching is, connectivity, networking, and you believe in the rule of two, which is every person is two people removed from whoever they want to
Yes.
meet, right? If I'm
Yes.
getting it correctly. So what really took you in that direction of saying, I've got this, because I call it a superpower, and I want to impart this superpower on others?
People started to ask me, Candace. I started to notice I had this ability to create relationships with people that were either celebrities or high-profile people, millionaires, billionaires, even. And people started to ask me, John, can you connect me to this person? Sure. Can you connect me to this? And finally, I'm like, instead of me doing it, why don't I teach this to other people? Because when you hear my story where I grew up, I didn't have any connections. Quite the opposite. So I realized that I did have this unique ability. I call it the million in you, right? It's that one unique thing that you do, Candace, better than anyone else on the planet. And then we all have it. And so we have to figure out what it is. And we can only do that ourselves. So I said, okay, how do I do this? Well, first thing is I need to connect to the right kind of thinking. I need to change my mindset to understand that I really am only one or two people, two connections away, two people removed, I call it, right? Two people removed from anyone on the planet. And then I give examples when I do speak, Candace, about how I can prove it, right? And so when you start to open your mind to what's possible rather than what's not possible, you start to see, wow, okay, let me reverse engineer who I want to meet, who I want to connect with. Now, I always share with my clients that you have to have a reason, right? If it's just to get the photo op, Candace, right? And that's not a good reason to go connect with somebody who's a billionaire or who's a celebrity industry leader. If you have a goal that requires you to meet somebody at the top of their field or somebody who's very influential, even someone like you, Candace, then now people want to meet Candace. They could go through me because I now know Candace. So, and what the work you're doing is absolutely amazing, Candace. So you start to reverse engineer. Okay, I want to connect with this person because they, I believe, can help me achieve my goal. But where most people get stuck, Candace, is they make it all about their goal. First thing you want to do is always look at what's important to them. Because most of the time, people who are wealthy, millionaires, billionaires, celebrities, they have everything they need. And so you want to look at things, what you can do to make a difference, make an impact in their life. Did the same thing with Les Brown, right? Les loves popcorn. My relationship with him started because I spent $20 and sent him a Ohio State University tin of popcorn. And so start to think of ways you can be unique and don't take no for an answer. But remember, it's not about what you want. Candace, I work with a lot of celebrities and very wealthy people. And always, without fail, most people always come to me with proposals and said, this will make us both a lot of money. Well, they already have a lot of money. They already have a lot of celebrity status. Rarely, if ever, does anyone come and say, hey, next time, one of the people I work with is Akon, right? Next time you're in town, can I help volunteer? Do you need anything? Next time you're with Les Brown in my city, can I volunteer? And so we have to remember that we have to give first and trust that what we give out, we get back, Candace. And this, again, back to what I talked about earlier, because a lot of people don't see it. They don't believe it. And that's where we need to move from living in fear to moving and living with unwavering faith, to know that everything works by law. There are certain laws that can guarantee your success, and they can guarantee your connection to anyone in the world if you just do things in a certain way.
I love the focus on giving. And, when you speak about connecting people, and I also love the fact that you're saying, I'm not just going to connect you for a great photo op, which is also fine. It's a great, it's a great ambition, but it needs to feed into a greater purpose. And because it's also going to drive you a lot more, I'm assuming, if you've got a greater vision than just being pictured with someone, right? And I love that you focus on giving, like give without, because I've heard you say numerous times, like give with no expectation. Right. Don't give and be like, oh, I'm going to make Akon my best friend, because that almost borders on manipulation, right? Right. So how do we define, as people, like all of us, me, the people listening right now, and saying, John, like, I want to do this, but how do I do it without coming across as manipulative or, trying to control or, just having a hidden motive other than just wanting to be in that person's orbit?
No, great question, Candace, because there is a fine line between manipulation and actually truly giving without attachment to the results. I believe the first thing you need to do is find out what's important to that other person, right? Well, actually, let me back up, Candace. First thing you need to do is you need to have a goal. You need to figure out what is it that you truly want. Now you start to look at, okay, Who do I need? Who can help me achieve my goal? And then you look at people who you want to partner with and get in relationship with. Now, what you want to do is you want to do your research and find out what's important to them. So to build a relationship with them, you need to give first. You need to find out what's important. Some high profile people, most of the time, they have plenty of money. They have plenty of celebrity status. So what are some of the unique things that they maybe like? College is always a good thing. Children, with Bob, it was that one song. With Les, it's popcorn. It's with my friend Onyx Singal, it was meeting someone in Bollywood that was quite famous, which I just happen to have a connection to. And so you want to see what's important to them. And then, yes, Candace, this is very hard for a lot of people. You want to give and be unattached to the results, knowing that no matter what, you're going to achieve your goal and dream, because you don't want to think that your goal or dream is ever dependent on anything outside of yourself or anyone. And that requires a change in thinking, a change in belief, because we've been so programmed that if we can't see it, it's not going to happen, right? And so that's what I think you need to do. And that requires a lot of faith, Candace, right? Well, I'm going to do all this stuff, but what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for you is the satisfaction to know that you've impacted and changed somebody's life. When I did that thing for Bob Proctor, I was totally okay if I never heard from him ever again. Would I love to? Of course, but I let it go. When I dropped that thing off at the front desk and I said, okay, no matter what, I know he's going to eventually get this, and I know it's going to put a smile on his face. And so I will have touched a little part of him for that one moment. And then I let it go. Now that has led to where we are today, Candace, which is beyond my wildest dreams, right? It's like, and so that's what's possible when you let go of the attachment, let go of the need to control the outcome, and not try to manipulate people, but actually really try to make a difference in their life. And so for someone, let's say they wanted to have a relationship, a business idea to get to you, Candace, one would research and see what is important to Candace. Well, it's quite obvious, Candace, you love fashion. You always look, perfect, stunning. That's important. Conflict resolution is important. Those kinds of things are important to you. And so that's what you want to do. And most people are just very short-sighted, Candace. And that's where we have to change our belief to move with faith, knowing that whatever we want, we can have if we just connect to the right kind of thinking and then the right kind of action and the right kind of emotion and thoughts. And that requires us to put other people first, always leaving people with the impression of increases. Wallace Wattles talks about in The Science of Getting Rich. And then again, understanding and knowing that everything works by law. And if you get what you want, not by doing certain things, but by doing things in a certain way.
That is so powerful. And you do speak about, there is a level of patience required, because every relationship takes a while to formulate. Trust takes a while to build. And so if people start off very enthusiastic and they're applying all of your methods and they're going, oh my gosh, John is incredible, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to start giving and doing and releasing. And they don't start seeing results in maybe 3 months and then 6 months and then a year. John, what do you say to people, especially about how to cultivate patience and faith at the same time?
Right. Great question, Candace. Remember, when you decide on your goal, it's not enough just to want something. You have to, everything is vibrating, Candace, right? Everything in the world is always moving. You have to maintain a high vibration to be on the same frequency as your goal. When you set a goal, that goal is actually a place that has a certain frequency. Everything is on a frequency. So if you're waking up every morning after 3 months, after 6 months, frustrated, discouraged, like, oh, I heard John talk to Candace and it's not working for me. And yet you're looking at your goal. Maybe you've written it down. I encourage everyone to write out your goal card. And so you're frustrated. What do you think is going to happen? It'll never match. Everything works by law, right? So whatever you're seeking is seeking you. So what I share with people is that there is a law of gestation, right? There's a gestation period for everything. We know 9 months, Candace, we pretty much will have a child, right? What we're doing here, we're planting spiritual seeds. Nobody knows yet. I'm sure we'll eventually figure it out. How long is the gestation period for a spiritual goal or dream? And so that's where you don't ever want to give up, right? There's a great book by 3 Feet from Gold. And I think Greg Reed and Sharon Lecter wrote that. You don't ever want to give up. And that's, again, requires us to move with unwavering faith, knowing, I love Neville Goddard, for those of you who haven't read The Power of Awareness or Neville Goddard's work. He talks about living from the end. And know that you don't need to rush anywhere. You're already there, but you want to see yourself with the wish fulfilled. You want to live from the end. And how do we do that? we, again, back to our greatest gift we've ever been gifted, Ken. And we want to use our imagination and be determined to know it's already happened, but then take massive daily action. And then we have to track what we're doing. A lot of people say, well, I'm not, not achieving this rank maybe in my company. A lot of clients of mine are in network marketing. And yet if I ask them, well, what did you do yesterday? Well, I made 5 calls. So, I mean, do you think somebody who's at the top rank in their industry makes 5 calls? No. So you want to be able to track what you're doing, take massive daily action, and then move with that unwavering faith to know that it's already done, and then live from the end, as Goddard talks about. Know it's already done, but then it requires you actually to take daily action. And, it's not always easy, Candace, but is it worth it? Absolutely.
And for those people who, are committed, so they fixate on the goal, right? Achieving the goal, but they've got like a bit of because we tend to do this. We don't necessarily know how we're going to get there, but we assume to know how we may get there.
Yes.
And then we start getting attached to the avenues that might get us there. How do we release that middle period of how things should be transpiring in order to get us to that end goal?
Yeah, that's, again, what I talk about is undoing that old model, Candace, because we've been so programmed to believe, right? And we operate from our 5 sensory factors, what we see and hear, basically, right? And that's an old model that we see that causes us to think a certain way, worry and doubt, usually living in fear and anxiety. We want to go with the new model. So up until now, you've gotten the results you've received and you don't want them, right? You don't like them. So I ask people, try it my way. My way is, okay, realize that you are God's highest form of creation, right? This was manufactured in pure perfection. You have the ability in each and every moment to choose your thinking. You can even originate original thoughts. And so if you start to become aware of what you're thinking and ask yourself, is this from the old programming, or is this from really what I want, which is to know that I need to hold the vision, move with that unwavering faith, not worry about how it's going to happen. And guess what happens? Something magical starts to happen, Candace. People, places, opportunities start to show up in our lives, right? And that's how it works. And your life starts to accelerate. People will call it, oh, you're so lucky, or no, those are just words people use who don't understand how this works. They can't explain it. But when you do that, when you move with the unwavering faith, let go of how it's going to happen. And this requires you to get uncomfortable, right? Because it goes against everything you've always been taught. Magical things start to happen. I see it over and over again in my life. Every week on our group coaching calls, we start each week celebrating our wins for the week. Why? Because people took contrary action to what they've been programmed to do. And they start seeing amazing results, and they see them quickly. And then your life starts to speed up. Your goals and dreams start to speed up. And now you move with that confidence. You move with that, as Joseph Allen talks about, right? That calmness of mind. And as a man thinketh, right? That wonderful chapter on serenity. And you move with that calmness of mind. And that is done with self-control. You want to master your thinking. You want to be able to control your thoughts. And that requires discipline, and it requires action. And then amazing things start to happen, Candace, and you start to create your goals and your dreams. You start to help other people create their goals and dreams, because you realize that you're not in competition with anybody other than yourself, to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. And it's a very freeing, that's total freedom, being able to do what you love and knowing it's already done when the minute you decide it in your mind, right? And then now take action every day, track what you're doing, and watch as it comes and manifests itself in your physical world.
And for people who are, dealing with worthiness issues and who are struggling with perhaps forgiveness, perhaps, relationships that they still have with their immediate family members or people they love, how do they, should they start thinking around those relationships or that resentment or, that programming in order to live a better or more fulfilled life?
Great question, Candace, because that's what kept me stuck for decades, right? I had a self-image of somebody who on the outside, it looked great, but on the inside, I couldn't even look myself in the mirror. I'd wash my face and actually hurry up and look at an angle because I was so ashamed of who I was. What we need to recognize and understand is that we have these two self-images, one that we project to the outside world, but then there's the other one that we live with, and our results will never outperform that image. Now, the great news is that image is a false self-image. I encourage everyone to go read the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, right? He talks about understanding that we have this false self-image, and we want to work to start to create the image of the person we wish to become. Now, when you start to take on characteristics of people you look up to, you'll realize that resentment, anger, and are things that need to go away. And you want to replace those with forgiveness, with love, with kindness, with possibility, with hope, with passion and purpose. And then you start to work on changing it. I have all my clients stand in front of a mirror, Candace, and read the self-confidence formula from Think and Grow Rich. It takes 2 minutes. Again, back to, are you willing to do what it takes? Other people will say, well, that's silly. Well, also it was probably silly when someone said, we're going to blast somebody up to that little white round circle up in the sky every day, right? And so you want to work on your self-image and create the image of the person you wish to become. And then you want to realize that stop listening to things and people outside of you. Do not allow your environment to take you off course. Doesn't matter what's happened up until now, that you can have, be, and do whatever you want if you just do things in a certain way. And that requires you first to decide what is it that you want, not anyone else, but what does Candace want? What does John want? Realizing that we are the writer, producer, director, star of our own movie, that everyone, family and friends, are just extras in our movie. And that, sometimes family and friends will fall to the side, Candace. Doesn't mean that we love them any less. But look, the clock is ticking, right? We're on a mission. We're on a mission that while we're here in this physical form to do something great, to have the life of our dreams, to be successful. What is success? Doing what you love. And then, sharing that with the world, and that each day should be a great day. And so that's the message I like to share with people, Candace.
Oh, I absolutely love it, John, because I completely believe that, at least in my life, I know how when I was living in this resentment and I was carrying all this, I call it poison. When I was carrying this poison towards my father's killer, like my life was just in a different frequency. I couldn't vibrate further than that. I couldn't vibrate further than the resentment. And when I met him and forgave him, my frequency completely changed. The people that came into my life changed. The kind of life I could imagine all of a sudden started to become a reality. And I know so many people, they start using the skills that you teach, and they say like, John, I'm really doing everything I can. I'm doing everything perfectly. It's just that they're still holding on to this other, as you said, the image of themselves that they can't let go of until they can heal it, right? They can go through that process of healing. And you spoke about, being able to distance from those people around you who may not be the best for you. How do people do that in a way that feels right with themselves? I don't know if you've ever done it, but how would people be able to do that in a way that feels right? And also they don't feel necessarily the overwhelming guilt of doing that.
Right. Well, again, back to what you were saying a little bit earlier, Candace, feeling really is the secret, right? It's getting, letting go of those resentments, knowing that it's not the snake bite that kills you, Candace, right? And so the longer you hold on to that, it's going to just keep you stuck from your goal and dream. I've spent decades being resentful and angry at other people and the people that had harmed me. And so I know a lot of listeners now have gone through a lot of stuff, a lot of really serious, really dark things. And so you want to get to a place to understand that you need to get the proper help you do, but to let that go eventually, Candace, right? To let that go. And then to start to realize that you, just because someone's not in your life every day doesn't mean you don't love them, right? You always want to send them love, but realize, again, back to what I said, this is about your life, that you're on a mission to have your goal and dream. And if these people don't want to go with you on that train, then they will get left behind, but you can do it with kindness and love. And if, ask yourself, are these the kind of people that are going to get me to where I want to go? And if the answer is no, then you want to surround yourself with like-minded people who understand that they control their results, that it's not the outside, it's not the news, it's not social media that's going to dictate what they can have in their life, what they can be or anything, but that it's you, everything is on you. And that's a great thing, that you can actually control your future. And so what you want to do is actually just be an example, encourage them to develop the awareness. And how do you do that? Through study. Encourage them, give them some of the similar books that you're reading. And what will happen is they will start to notice a change, and you'll find that they will start to ask you, you seem different. What are you doing differently? Well, I just read this book. I read Think and Go Rich. I just read this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And I realized that my results were never going to change unless I worked on my self-image. I just read this book, Power of Awareness, that I could use my imagination and create the life I wanted. And so I decided I'm going to say no more to all that other stuff because it wasn't working. I wasn't happy. I angry all the time, feeling like I was a victim, making excuses why I didn't have what I wanted. And I think that's the best thing that we can do, Candace, is to be an example, do the work, and then let people see the results. And then they will start to ask, wow, what are you doing differently?
Oh, that is incredible. And you had a strong emphasis on reading. As a habitual practice, how highly do you rank reading as something that all of us should do?
We encourage all of our clients, Candace, to have a daily success ritual and that's Monday through 7 days a week, right? Goals and dreams don't take off on the weekend. And so it's 7 days a week I've heard them all, Candace. Stuff is always going to be happening outside of us. Things are always going to happen. This is 7 days a week, a daily success ritual, prayer, meditation. We have all of our clients create what we call an unlimited life script. We listen to it on our phone. We write our gratitude list, and then we study every day. You should study or read something, at least 30 minutes a day. It's so important, Candace, that we are studying the right kind of material, the material that will allow us, not the kind that we learned in school, right? Where if we memorize enough things on a certain day at a certain time, they're going to let us know how smart we are. And if we should become a doctor, firefighter, or, end up working at the gas station. No, we're going to study material and information that can change our life. And things like the books we mentioned here today, Neville Goddard, Think and Grow Rich, Bob Proctor's, You Were Born Rich, Psycho-Cybernetics, Feeling is the Secret. There's so many amazing, amazing books. And ask yourself, I always have my clients do a daily inventory. I have them one day, Candace, write down everything that they do in 15-minute increments. And then go back and look at what you did on that day. And you will be amazed at how much time is invested in non-productive, non-dream making activities. And then you can start to change. But that requires, again, Candace, doing things other people don't want to do. Reviewing your day, actually sitting there and every 15 minutes writing down, okay, did this, did this, did this. A lot of us think we're very busy. We're not very productive. And when you start to focus, again, develop the use of one of those 6 special spiritual gifts that we were gifted, right? You develop the use of your will, the ability to focus on one thing at a time to the exclusion of all others. Then you really start to see amazing results, because you start to understand that when you get a text or phone call or email, it's usually somebody else's agenda, not yours. And so it's when you apply and use those 6 spiritual gifts, Candace, I touched on the imagination earlier, your will, right? Your intuition, your memory, and your perception and reason, then magical, wonderful things start to happen, and they happen quickly.
Oh, that's incredible. And I know it works like 100% because I realized that I journal a lot. I've done it since I was a child, since I was like 9. I used to write randomly, but now it's so crazy. The other day, what happened to me was I was just, I was journaling, and then something just said, turn back a few pages. And I went back, and I kid you not, John, I had written at that time, what state I was in mentally, but also where I wanted to move to, the kind of place I wanted to be living in, the kind of apartment, all of it. And 2 months later, and I said I want it to happen in the next 2 or 3 months. And by 2 months, I'd moved into the exact place I'd written down. Yes. And I was like, was this a premonition? Or was this my intuition?
Yes, that's how it works, Candace. And most people don't want to write stuff down, right? So I encourage everyone, write down your goals and dreams. If you want that dream house, go find it. I always hear people say, well, I don't have the money. You don't need the money. Make a decision that you want the house. Go out, find that dream house, go take pictures of it. You want the dream car, go drive it this weekend. Take pictures of it, print that picture out, put a card up so you see that thing. Because it works, Candace, it really does. And yeah, congratulations. Imagine now you do that on everything you want, and then boom, it's like a life of total freedom, total fulfillment, joy and happiness, right?
I absolutely love it, John. And So for me, something I've come to terms with in my own life, I think it's just from my own journey, is, and something I teach is, pain is a part of the process. And so what I found is that for me, I don't necessarily run away from pain. I embrace pain because I know that it's in that painful moment, as uncomfortable as it is, that I'm probably going to expand past my own limitations. I'm going to grow immensely. And so where does pain and, that discomfort of, because goal getting is hard. When you're choosing a different path, it can get harder than what you're used to. And you're going to experience obstacles, and people are going to leave your life, and you are going to go through heartbreak. All these strange things are going to happen. So when you're going through all of that, John, do you feel like there is a space for pain in the whole journey of like creating the life we want?
Absolutely, Candace. Without pain, we wouldn't know the pleasure and satisfaction, joy and fulfillment that we achieve. Most people, they start to feel pain, they start to get uncomfortable. Maybe they perceive themselves of having failed at something and they give up. What you want to do is one, accept it. I learned this from Michael Beckwith, right? Accept it. It is what it is. Number two, find the lesson in it. What is it trying to teach me? What is it trying to show me here? And, then forgive all the rest. And that's really hard for a lot of us because we hang on to that. We hit that terror barrier, Candace, right? And we get uncomfortable. And what we have is we have this built-in cybernetic mechanism in our body, which is designed to keep us safe. So the minute we start to veer off course, like going after things we've never had before, doing things we've never done before, we get uncomfortable and we run dead smack into that terror barrier. So what we want to do is be able to blast through that terror barrier. How do we do that? Know that we have great courage. Surround yourself with the right kind of people. Every month, you and the people at Real Success are providing an amazing forum of thought leaders, teachers, the best in the world to help your listeners do that. Surround yourself with the right kind of material and the right kind of things to study. Write out daily your gratitude list. Write out your goal. If you don't believe it, borrow someone else's belief in you until you achieve it. Do what other people won't do. It doesn't make any sense. We all do our goal cards based on how Bob Proctor has taught us, right? I'm so happy and grateful. Put a date to what you want. Don't worry about how it's going to happen. And then if you find yourself stuck in those negative thoughts, write them out on a piece of paper and then write out the complete opposite on another piece of paper. Candace, I have people burn that negative one. Burn it. And it's a symbolic gesture, but we have to get in there and change the thinking. We have to recognize and understand those habits and paradigms that have kept us stuck. And with awareness, we can now start to change. Is it easy? No. But you have people like you, like everyone at Real Success, like people you bring on, people like Bob Proctor, Les Brown, all these people that you can surround yourself with, devour their information and study and learn from them. So instead of spending 2, 3, 4 hours binging out on Netflix and some series, how about if you spend 2, 3, 4 hours binging out on your goals and dreams? When's the last time you heard someone say, I'm going to spend the weekend binging out on personal development, Candace? And so it's about making different choices, right? And knowing with some different choices and some different kind of connecting to different kind of thinking, you can have an amazing life and you can have it quickly, no matter what you've been through. And I see it, it's happened in my own life, as I'm sure it's happened in your life, Candace. And so, yes, it requires us to get uncomfortable, but all the great rewards come after you go through that feeling of being so uncomfortable, being scared, and then you blast through to the other side, which is total freedom, knowing that you design the life that you want each and every day.
And I think the greatest thing is also it creates so much confidence, right?
Yes.
When people go through pain and they emerge on the other side, now they know that they're equipped to handle pain. They know that something severe happened and they made it. And therefore, in future, should something happen, they will still make it. And so it also builds that reserve within people. And so as we come to the end, John, so you speak about books and you mentioned a lot of incredible books. So if the world were to end tomorrow and you only had one piece of literature you could save, which one would it be?
It would be The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard.
Oh,
yeah, The Power of Awareness.
And what is real success to you?
Success to me, Candace, is waking up in the morning, being able to look myself in the mirror and saying, I like myself, I love myself, and I know that today I'm going to be a better father to my 2 kids. I'm going to be a better partner to my fiance. I'm going to be a better son to my parents, and be a better coach to all my clients, and a better member of my community. And that's, yes.
Is there one goal you are willing to share with us that you still are dying to achieve?
Yeah, my goal is to change 1 million people's lives, Candace, to get the information to them, to get the hope to them, to know that they can control their results. They can change their life quickly by just changing their thinking, by connecting to the right kind of thinking, connecting to their goals and dreams, and then connecting to the right kind of group of people. And so I'm on a mission to change 1 million lives or more.
Love it. And then finally, what is one thing about John Tallarico that we will not find on Google?
Oh boy. Well, let me think, Candace. Boy, one thing. When I was young, Candace, I actually had, talk about self-image. My parents had my ears pinned back and actually were reconstructed. So you won't find that on Google. So that happened when I was 4, and I uncovered years later a photo that they took of me in the hospital. My head was all wrapped. But the one thing that they were doing the surgery for, Candace, they actually put a pair of Mickey Mouse ears on my head. And so I think that caused me a lot of pain and conflict for many years. But yeah, that's something you won't find.
I absolutely love it. John, thank you so much for your graciousness and being on the Real Success Show.
Thank you, Candace. And thank you to everyone at Real Success for all the amazing work that you do. Really a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you. I know I promised that you were going to learn how to connect to anyone, anywhere in the world. And I trust that that's what you took away today. But I also took away so much more than just that. I learned how I can transform my life into an even more expansive reality. And I know that you can too. So make sure that you share with us, what is it that you learned from John Tallarico today? And Real family, you know that we have created the Real community, whereby just like-minded people just like you get to connect, talk, join groups, have access to some of these incredible people on the platform. So if you're not a part of it yet, make sure that you check out the link below. And if you have not attended one of our summits, where have you been? Make sure that you are registering below, because we always have something incredible up our sleeves, because we want the world to transform. We want to transform consciousness. We want each and every one of you to live your best reality, because when you good, we good. When you good, we get to change the world collectively. So if this is where you choose to leave us, as you know, it is always an honor and a privilege that you've spent your time with me. And I look forward to seeing you next week.